One of the big realizations is really, to me, from a personal perspective, it's been about take action and not think. Ultimately, the body heals itself, right? The drugs that a pharmacist might give, it's your own body that does the healing, your own body that creates almost a chemical reaction to that medicine to then create a healing process.
Hello, welcome back to the Mindful Past podcast. We've got Harry looking very fly. If you're watching this on YouTube, go and check it out. Or if you're listening to an audio, go and check out our YouTube channel afterwards because Harry is dressed to impress. Harry, how you doing? Tell me what's going on.
Well, shirt-related stuff. It's actually the same company shirt that I wear for all my other shirts. I get them in Barcelona, but this was the only pattern shirt that they had. And I thought I'm always going for the white shirt, the blue shirt, the black shirt. I thought I'd spice it up a little bit. And this was the bright color one, which I thought last November. And I only wore it once until today, I think. And that was for Christmas Day, because I thought it was quite festive because it's kind of red, even though it's got lots of Japanese.
Yeah, man, you're looking fly. When I saw him, just to give the listeners a bit of insight here, when he came to the episode, he's taken them off now. He had his shades on.
Oh yeah,
he was looking. There you go. No, he was looking pretty fly. And of course, we've got our new Mindful Past neon sign. There you go in the background for those on YouTube. So we're going up market here on the Mindful Past podcast. Our budget has extended to a neon sign rather than a blues backdrop as it used to be. So hey, it's a good place.
I'm here in Amsterdam. I'm actually I'm in a basement flat. I don't know if I can lift this up and show you around, but there's a canal.
Oh wow.
So like literally people are walking.
I can see basement because you're basically looking at people's calves and feet.
Exactly. And trust me, you don't want to look below my waist right now because I was in the midst of getting dressed. So I'm only half decent from the waist up.
Oh, you've done the standard YouTube Teams piece where you're dressed from the top but nothing underneath.
I mean, I've got my boxers on, but I've been in conferences all day. So like, as you will probably know, but maybe the listeners don't, I've been at this thing called Mindvalley University since last week. And so I've been in like lectures all day, and I just had to take my socks off, my trousers off. I just had to decompress. So we're at the beginning of week 2. So we did a week last week, and there's another social party tonight. We had the big opening party on Saturday night, which was called Into the Future, and it was like at a experiential museum, as it were. And so crazy Mindvalley parties with DJs and singers and all sorts of crazy activities and photo opportunities and a tunnel of the future, whatever it was. I personally have not been taking many photos, so you probably haven't been seeing much of an update from me because, I don't know, I just can't be bothered to be out at the moment every time I take a photo. There are lots of people taking photos around, but I don't know, as listeners, long-term listeners will know, I'm a little bit of a hate sometimes with relationship with social media and technology in general, as we constantly talk about technology. Maybe we talk about it today, I don't know.
Well, I tell you what, I've got a dry smile on because for those who have listened to previous episodes that talk about these Mindvalley events, they always sound like coded sex parties to me. And I reckon no photos is part of the rule taking, right? No photos. This is honestly a Mindvalley event. This is not a sex party.
Honestly, it's not like that at all. But because there's a kids program which for 6 to 12-year-olds and another one for 13 to 18-year-olds. So those streams are running as well. And the topics of the talk, I was actually explaining to someone, I think she's like an influencer from LA, and has been invited to come out. I think she maybe got a free ticket, but wasn't paid anything else, but just to like document stuff. And I was saying to her, I feel like this year, firstly, it's the first year they're doing it in Amsterdam. The last 3 years have been Tallinn and Barcelona and Pula and places. So we're in Amsterdam, but the sessions are shorter. So it's only 2 weeks instead of 3 weeks. And maybe because of that, there aren't as many of those talks. I mean, today was love and relationships, actually, the theme of the day. But they're all pretty vanilla talks. It wasn't anything crazy. There may be something like that later, like the Tantric Awakening or sacred sexuality. I don't know. But there hasn't been as many of those, it feels, this year as in previous years. But maybe I'm coming into it with a different frame of mind. I've come in this time with a frame of mind of just trying to reignite a spark, not like in my business, in my mentality, not looking for that side or the other. And I haven't been drinking and going out or doing much. I mean, I've been going out a little bit, but not really crazy. and it takes me about a week or so to get into it. So now it's really the second and third week, although this time it's only the second.
So let's dive in. It makes sense that you're at a Mindvalley event. This is a Mindful Past podcast. This is all about,
let's talk about Mindvalley.
Self-awareness, mindfulness, improving the mind, body, spirit, health, vitality. What have you learned? You are going into week 2, so tell me about what have you learned that our listeners can take away? What insights can you share for your week 1 learning?
You know, someone asked me that today about what were my big ahas, and now I'm like, I can't even remember what sessions I went to. So I'll detail a few of the sessions I vaguely remember. One, I was thinking about you when I was in that session, and it was led by a conductor, like a music conductor of orchestras, but it was all about leadership. And I was going to text you at the time because they're streaming it as well. So they're streaming this. You can obviously, when this goes out, it'll be over, but you, Nick, can stream it if you want. It might cost a bit of money, but there was a conductor, and he was showing videos of other conductors, and without explaining anything, he was like, would you want to be under this leadership style or this leadership style? And it's like, why not? And you can see this one is authoritarian and directive, this one is collaborative, this one is this. And I thought you would quite like that as a leadership talk. So that was quite an interesting one. Then what else? I went to one which I was a bit disappointed by, but that's my own thing. And it was this Kundalini awakening. So Kundalini, for those listening, is this energy, right? So like often thought of as like a snake of energy that comes up the spine. In Kundalini yoga is a big one to like awaken your Kundalini. And there's a woman here who does Kundalini activation. So from the outside, it looks really like she's not doing anything, right? You lie down and you just lie down, listen to music, and then maybe she waves her hands about and stuff happens for people. Nothing happened for me this time. And the reason I was disappointed was because last year, actually, I went to 2 of them.
I remember you sharing. You had quite an out-of-body experience.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm that second session, so I'm not sure what episode that was we talked about it, but I had this like crazy like exorcism, which you can't really explain. It was just, just like this convulsing of the body. This time, I mean, her sessions have been so busy that they moved her out of the room that she was in into like the massive auditorium. And then it was only maybe 40 minutes. I feel like the sessions were there, maybe 20 people, 30 people, and it's an hour or two is a lot better. But it's still interesting to do. But one of the other things, one of the big realizations, a couple of things, is really to me, from a personal perspective, it's been about take action and not think. And I was actually talking about you the other day as well, because I was saying like, my podcast co-host is very much like we talked about it, right? Ready, fire, aim kind of thing. And I talked about how we recorded 8 or so episodes of this before we'd even come up with a name. And when you originally called me about starting this podcast, I was thinking of all the things that was being peeving it, like whether we're going to find time or like a microphone, but whereas you're like, you want to do it? Yeah, okay, we'll figure out the rest later, right? And so anyway, I went out on Thursday night and I went to this ecstatic dance cacao ceremony party. So they have independent organized events as well. So not just the ones in the program, but like you or I could just put a calendar invite in for everyone and say, look, I want to talk about leadership, or I want to talk about yoga, I want to talk about cacao or whatever, or not talk about sample cacao. So they had the cacao and ecstatic dance with a DJ, and it was amazing in this big church. And maybe like 200 people there. Anyway, so that was all good fun, but I was dancing and there was someone there that I'd connected with a few days earlier at a speaking event that I was at, a speaking training. So I did that for a few days as well, speaking training. And, I felt my intuition was like, she's into me, right? It was definitely, I think she was.
Just to reassure our listeners, this is not a sex conference. This is, I'm teasing, mate.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm being very open here. So I felt she was into me. And she was kind of dancing with me at the ecstatic dance thing. But then when I like someone, I kind of have difficulty maintaining that eye contact or that kind of connection. So I kind of like back away a little bit, whatever. And then I saw her sort of dancing like she was kind of dancing around in lots of the areas of the room. And then some other guy sort of was dancing with her a little bit, and then actually made a bit of a move to like more with body contact, hold on, do partner dance and whatever. And then I saw he was definitely, guys know what guys, guys know guys. And so I knew that he was super into her. And anyway, at the end of the night, there was a closing ceremony, and I saw that he was wanting to put his head on her lap, and she sort of let him, but I think she got a bit awkward with it. And I later saw that it got moved away. Anyway, then at night, I'm seeing her and I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, we're going out for a drink. My friend invited me. Do you want to come or whatever? And then, so we went and, she was still flirting with me and chatting with me. And you can see he was like trying to come in. I made a big mistake when we went for a drink at Miss Terrace, and that the seating was, I took a wrong seat, basically. So I was kind of left out of the picture. And it started to bother me because I saw that like he was trying to hold her hand and then she was sort of holding his hand, but then looking at me and then kind of pulling away. And in the end, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to cut my losses on this one and go. And then I didn't. I ended up chatting to some other people around the table and I moved my chair somewhere else. And I was having a good time with the people I was chatting to. But at the end of the night, he made a move and she didn't seem very into it at all. Like, and then he did kiss her and she was kissing him back, but her arms were like just right by her side. It looked like an awkward teenager who was just, taken by surprise by the high school throb or whatever. And then I walked home with her and a bunch of other people, and he'd gone off his separate way. And then she was flirting with me again, and I was just thinking, I don't know whether she was. I was challenged. It was more about a lesson to myself, right? Really about challenging my intuition, and whether my intuition was right. But also, I believe it was, and I believe that I should have just taken action. So it was a lesson to me in action. I got really frustrated both with myself, and I've not had this before. I got back at 2 a.m. and I could not sleep that night until 5. I fell asleep finally at 5 a.m. and woke up at 6. I had 1 hour sleep going into Friday's session. And it was a frustration. And was it a frustration with her, frustration with me? Like, she doesn't owe me anything, right? At the end of the day, we've met a couple of times. We've had some banter, there's no obligation here. But it reminded me of when I got emotion. The reason it upset me a little bit, because when I sort of met her, I thought, oh, actually, this is someone that I feel like I could want to develop a relationship with, even though I didn't know her.
Yeah, you had a connection, you had a spark.
Yeah, and I didn't feel that since a while. But from a Mindvalley perspective, I remember like 6 years ago feeling the same thing. And then 24 hours is a long time at Mindvalley. It's like 5 weeks or 10 weeks. And a lot happens, right? You meet someone, you get this connection, and then you see them a bit later, and suddenly they've done a workshop with someone else, or they've like had the dinner with someone else, and it's all changed. And so, I don't know, it kind of like shocked me a little bit. And I was like, okay, look, let's not just get emotionally invested right now, and let's just like have no agenda, have a good time, connect with everyone. And if something crops up, like just ready, fire, aim. Don't aim.
It's it, like... There's a cliche, right? But it was you that said to me first, on our first ever episode, Nick, a cliche, when you hear a cliche that exists for a reason, we should listen to them, right?
Yeah.
And there's a cliche that says you only regret the shots you didn't take.
Yeah.
Right. So if you don't take the shot, mate, you'll never know. You'll live in that place now of not really knowing, and that is frustrating. That is
frustrating. Actually, I heard a similar thing.
Well, I'll go back to the About a Zoo piece, right? You know what I'm going to say here, Matt Damon movie. You know what I'm going to say? 20 seconds of courage. 20 seconds of courage can change your life.
One of the speakers today, I'll tell you about him in a minute, but one of the speakers today, he was talking about that. He was talking about 20 seconds of bravery or 20 seconds of courage. And I was thinking, I wonder if he got that from About a Zoo, because I know we've talked about it a lot.
It's definitely not his. He definitely got it from Matt Damon, because I'll always cite him.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a thing.
And I wanted to put my hand up and say, oh my God, because it reminded me of when I had that 20 seconds of bravery when I was at a conference in 2011 and decided to go and meet someone and then have a 4-year relationship with them in the end. But what I was going to say is, I heard something today, which maybe I've heard before, maybe I haven't, but it's, it's better. Oh God, it's harder to live. It's easier to live with the rejection than it is the regret, or something like that. Or it's better to live with the rejection than the regret.
I've got Eva back from Costa Rica, which is amazing. She's been away for a month. She saw turtles and sharks, and actually, to be fair, it sounded a little bit like kid labor. She said she was working 7 days a week, no weekend breaks. They started at 8, finished at 4, and it was pickaxes, digging dirt, filling up bags full of soil, making steps for an old lady and stuff for a school and stuff. So I think they worked them really hard. Anyway, she had a great time, really good. A bit emotional, saying goodbye to all the people she met and whatever. And we were just in a car, and I just said to her, left school now, college is starting. Any regrets from school? Anything you wish you'd done? I said, not really, just one. And the one regret was when they went away on their outbound trip, and there was like a leap of faith, I think they called it, where you could do this leap across 2 rocks. You're all roped up and whatever. And I think you leap off and you have to sort of let the rope take the fall over. And she didn't do it. And it's funny. I was like, that's a good example we're talking about where she was safe. You'll only regret the things she didn't take. And she's quite an adventurous. Like, she'll go and put herself out there. She's like, it's the one time I didn't live up to my own kind of values. Really, I didn't get to do the thing that I consider myself quite brave. I usually, she jumped off Table Mountain at 8 years old and parascended with me down the mountain. She's gone on the back of speedboats on inflatable, all those kind of things at a young age. But for whatever reason, in that moment, she didn't have the courage to take that leap. And it's the only. I mean, I think we're winning if that's the only regret you've got coming away from 5 years at school, right? But even so, it's like that's the bit that she still holds on to. And it was an instant response. It wasn't like she had to try and access it and think about it. She was like, straight away, I know exactly what it is. It's like, it was 20 seconds. That would never have been on that list. It'd have been something else. But
I know. I mean, actually, I went to an interesting talk today that a book that you may find interesting. I think it's the subtitle is something like about how to raise, confident, resilient girls. And I think the book was Sensibility and it's a play on sense and sensibility. So it must be sensation or sexuality, not sexuality, but maybe it's.
Everybody's got sexuality in his conference, mate. It's probably sexuality.
There is an author. So every lunchtime they have an author series where they found some authors who have released a book unknown in the last year, and usually like PhD. So this woman was a PhD. She was talking about maybe it's sexism and sensibility. That's it. Because it's talking about the archetypal feminine traits that are put onto women from birth. Like, she was saying something interesting about was it cartoons or kind of programs designed for like younger women? It's always about solving the problem with magic, whereas with boys it's about using like strength or STEM, like
swords and axes and strength.
But with women, and then she's like, well, there's no magic in the real world, depending on what you believe, I guess, but like there's no magic, so therefore they're being taught subconsciously that the thing that they grew up learning would save them, like the magic doesn't exist. Right? It was a quite interesting talk. I mean,
I think that's quite. I can see that having
and I
some
thought
mileage.
about it because of my nieces, so that's why I went to it. But I think like with the regret, I think it's all about the inner voice, right? We have, and a lot of this is all personal development here, and we have our inner critic, and so for me, it's I second guess and I talk too much in my own head about what I'm going to do, what I'm not going to do. Whereas I just need to sometimes go for it a bit more. And I know that when that happens, and it takes me, like I said, a week or so to warm up, because a Mindvalley was quite interesting. And I noticed it a little bit today because it's day one for a set of new people. And so there are all the people that have been there a week, and you can sort of see them a little bit nervous around and everything. And because they think, everyone else is already connected and knows each other and everything. And especially when people meet me and I'm like, I've been to 5 of these events before. And they're like, oh my God, I'm a newbie. But when I just go for it and don't overthink things, you end up having like great conversations, great, connections with people. I had a really interesting couple of conversations last Wednesday. One thing that I might well do actually. So I've done Vipassana, right? The meditation.
Yeah.
Well, this guy, we're talking about that and various plant medicines and all this. But this guy, he was really interesting. He actually gave a talk about hands. It wasn't palm reading, but it was about how your hands are like effectively the blueprint for your hands comes before even your first heartbeat comes, and how, I don't know, it can shape what you end up being or whatever. Anyway, they've looked at thousands of hands. He's a hand guy, but he was talking to me about something.
He's a hand guy. I love that.
Okay, this is PG-13. But the point is, he was telling me about an experience he'd had. Nothing to do with hands, by the way. That was the conversation that we were having to begin with, about a darkness retreat. So effectively, you go and you spend like almost a week in pure darkness, right?
Yeah.
And the whole place is set up so that you can go to the toilet, shower, whatever, but without actually having exposure to light, and it's padded. So it's literally like being in a padded cell for a week. But his story, I mean, it's convinced me that maybe it's going to be something I want to do, because obviously you've become really sensitive to any photon of light. But beyond that, he started seeing, and I'm going to cut his story short and do a massive disservice, but at one point he started seeing this red glow, right? And there's mirrors, right, that you can see when there's light, which there wasn't. But there was a red glow coming from him. eventually figured out it was coming from him as he was moving around. It was coming from like the base of his, underneath his belly bit, where the chakras are. So like in yogic tradition, there's the 7 chakras, like the root chakra, solar plexus, heart chakra, all of these things. And actually they have different colors associated with them. And I do remember reading somewhere in one of these magazine science journals about maybe there's something to that, but he started seeing the colors where they should be. I think he just got to the root chakra, but he had other visions where he drifted off, and he didn't dream he was somewhere else. He was literally, he said, like in a parallel dimension for like 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and then went back. Really crazy stuff. Like how much of this is the trick of the mind, whatever else, I don't know. But having had crazy experiences myself, it leads me to entertain the thought that there's a lot more to this world than we give it credence. So yeah, so you just have interesting conversations with people.
Yeah.
Just,
I'd find that stuff interesting for sure.
I think well, like I was going to mention it to you last week, but I didn't think we'd be able to come out on short notice because they also do a 3-day ticket. I didn't realize that. I thought it was either 1 week or 2 week, but they do a 3-day ticket. And I thought, I wonder if you could come out for 3 days and
next time. Let's do it. If it's in August, I'll try and come next year. I've talked about it in the past.
They might be doing it back in Estonia. Maybe they do it earlier. But it's definitely worth it. And you can bring Leo and Eva as well, right? And Lucy, and bring the whole family. And there's going to be lots and lots that they can do as well, because there's the team program and the youth program and everything else. And it's not this kind of crazy sex party. It's not anything.
Well, he does protest too much, but yeah, no.
But he's protest all the time, but
Looking at how you're dressed, mate, and you're looking well up for the evening. I'm still not 100% convinced that my theory is
in the day, actually. And I thought I would wear it during the day because
that's because you've been partying for 24 hours.
No,
you haven't been to bed. Let's be honest. Come on.
Last night I did nothing. I went to a swing dance class.
A swing dance class.
Yep. Because next weekend's theme.
Dance class for swingers.
Well, yeah, that's what I thought the teacher at college. She's going to do a few more classes. Because this Saturday's party, the theme is 1920s, right? The Roaring 20s. And so they're going to play maybe some level of electro swing music. But people don't really know how to dance the swing. So I went to a lesson yesterday with one of the tribe members, the community members here. And she's a dance teacher, so she held a class for maybe 20, 30 people. And so we learned a bit of swing, a bit of salsa. They had salsa party on afterwards, but my legs were too tired for that. I just went home, and I was home by 10. So it was pretty chilled. And Friday night, same thing. So Friday night didn't go out. Sunday night didn't go out. It was just Saturday night I went out. And then last week as well, a couple of nights. So
I'll tell you something I did find interesting. Are you familiar with, and I'm going a little bit off piste here, but you talk about your teachers and all these kind of weird things and opening up the mind or whatever. I'll be open to say I had a relatively closed mind on this. I'm struggling to get through the book. I was recommended a book. I can't even remember what it's called. It's downstairs. That is by Ellen and I think it's Julian. I think it's Ellen Hicks and Julian Hicks.
No,
but what Esther Hicks. That's it. If you read it, they talk about.
She's written a few books. I mean, I listen to. Sorry to interrupt. I listen to her meditation almost daily, like the Vortex meditations that carry on.
Okay, so maybe I should give it. If you recommend it, I'll give it a little bit more time. But the one I'm reading, it feels to me like it's just either an older version of The Secret, The Secret, which is the law of attraction, right? So if I don't want to ruin the book for anyone, but I wouldn't recommend reading The Secret particularly, but it's basically about the law of attraction. And the one thing they forget to talk about in the law of attraction is the bit at the end, which is action. And it's actually, you can't just think these things. But in this book, it's basically about the same thing in where I am so far, about halfway through. But they went to, I'm so rubbish with names. Where did I go in Arizona, where they have the vortex?
Yeah, Sedona.
Yeah.
Sedona.
So they went to Sedona, and when she was there, she saw a spiritualist, and they managed to summon every person has in the book, she says everyone has a spirit guardian. And she said that the spirit guardian spoke to her, and they said that when you go away, you will find your spirit guardian, it will come to you. Anyway, a couple of weeks later, the spirit guardian comes to Esther Hicks and starts giving her the truth of the world. And she starts almost... Abraham. That's it. You know where I'm going with this. And the book is all about, it's not, Esther will introduce Abraham, and then the rest of the book is Abraham talking, not her. Yep. But it's through her voice. So people will come and she'll speak. Maybe it's the same with the audio meditations. They give you links to the audios, which I can go and listen to them. but they've got all these tapes where Esther is talking, but it's Abraham talking, and that's the spirit animal or guardian inside her doing the conversations. You have to kind of, I want to be open-minded.
Yeah, okay.
But you feel like this is something from like the 1970s, and where science in those days and cassette tapes could probably make these things sound believable. When you listen to it now, it just sounds really bizarre and out of sync. I don't know. I will be honest and say I want to be open-minded. It was really highly recommended to me, and I'm reading it going, oh, really? I don't know. I'm struggling to get on board.
At that particular bit, I was recommended. It was an audio program, and it had a book attached to it, although I didn't read it actually, called "Getting into the Vortex." And actually, there's 4 meditations on there, and they're 15 minutes long. And I actually really like those, and I use them with my mum a lot of the time. And what I really like that they've got like a four count beat, so you can breathe in 4, out 4. And I barely listen to the words, to be honest, that she says. And it's 4 different variations. I think, Abraham is her version of whatever the divine is coming through. Now, I think, have you read Conversations with God?
No, but I know of it because you've spoken about it a lot. And I think it was my mum has read some of it. Well, someone I know has read it. Well, I remember having a conversation with my mum.
I recommend that as well. I mean, look, at the end of the day, depending on the time, like whether it's modern world or historical world, we have different ways of interpreting things. So like we talk about religion and angels and things, and those things maybe what people now are referring to as spirit guides, or it might be UFO alien type things. What I do know, and it's freaky, this is kind of like going into the realm of some of the plant experiences I've had, where you sense entities and beings like beyond this reality. It's really hard to describe something. This is why I know we had a debate about this before about changing certain things, and you've banged on about coaching and speaking and all that, and I'm like, actually sometimes you need to take the words out of it. And so I think I explained in a previous episode, or maybe I didn't, I'm not sure. I'm sure the booth experience from last year, not from a few years ago.
Yeah, you have talked about it. Our debate was about whether or not you need to. I believe that you can heal the mind without necessarily the need to introduce things psychedelics and
it's not necessarily
other elements.
Some of it might be breath work. Some of it might be shaking and dance. Right? It's the non-verbal. Right? I guess the point is it's the non-verbal, because when we verbalize things and we create a story around it and we create a label and an identity.
I don't disagree with the non-verbal element.
Sorry?
The non-verbal without the addition of anything else is fine. It's when you have to add in other substances to take you to another plane, in inverted commas. I'm not so sure that's. I mean, that's required
in a cat at the end of the day. And I think some people have huge success with PTSD and other trauma through taking psilocybin or ayahuasca or maybe possibly DMT or whatever. And other people might find it, and there was a study that showed they could reduce the PTSD with surfing, right? Breath work. So there was a talk today by a guy I know, I've known for a few years, and he's got really quite a big brand called Soma, SOMA, Soma Breathwork. And he started off as a new normal community member. Now he's one of the Mindvalley speakers and DJ, and he does a lot of with the parties sometimes without the drinking. We will be having the music and then be guided with breath work, and it can really activate the endorphins and really interesting stuff. So there's no need to necessarily do certain things, right? People can go into other planes of dimension with things like rebirthing, which is rebirthing breathing.
I think that's great. I'm not actually. I think that's probably segue a little bit off. It was my fault because I segued to where we were in the first place.
No, but
I was just interested to know if you know of Esther Hicks. It's reading something who claims that it's I say claims, believes, whatever the word is. It's not them talking through the writing. It's literally Abraham, this guardian, although it's the individual that's doing the talking. It's like they've been possessed. I don't know.
I don't see why that's so crazy, and here's why. A couple of reasons why.
You need to hear the bit of the audio.
I know. I mean, it's going to be 1980s classic stuff, and so there's.
It is a little bit. It just makes it feel like without that maybe
that stuff, and I've not read her book, but I'm pretty sure whether we were talking about whether it was Beethoven or Mozart, maybe it was Mozart who was great. He's like, I'm not writing the stuff; it's just coming through me, right? And I had the experience when I wrote my first book, The Thought Gym. Yes, I'd spent maybe 4 or 5 months workshopping my plan. So actually for my book, something I can suggest to you as well, there's different ways to write the book, but one, to get the chapter headings, you can ask yourself, like, say, 10 questions that someone would ask you. Let's say it was like, what's the best gym to go to, right? What would be 10 things that someone would ask about the gym? And then you flick those into the chapter headings, right? So with your book, you can do something the same. But what I did is I had like, not Post-it notes, but sheets of paper. So let's say I had 10 chapters, I'd have 10 bits of paper. And as things came to me, I'd write on a piece of paper from the wall. So I spent a bit of time planning the book. But when I actually wrote the book, it was almost like a download, right, for 2 weeks. And I just wrote. And I thought, yes, it's coming through me and it's me, but it's
is that not just a state of flow?
It could be, and
that's still different to verbalizing somebody else's voice, which is what it does in the book. It's not. It literally it has a different voice, has a different sound, has a different energy. It's
yeah. I mean,
you've got to really look, you've got to be very open-minded. I'd like to think I'm open-minded. I'm still reading it, but it's hard. It's quite hard.
Sorry, when I was on my Vipassana on day 8, I started. So you do this breathing technique and this scanning technique, and you get quite good at it. And you're scanning almost like on a cellular level, like your body. Like it's hard to describe to someone listening who hasn't had this experience. But when you focus on an intent part of your body for 3 days, like we did our nose for just 3 days, the whole focus on the nose, you get to almost sense and feel every little micron in there. And so after day 8, where we'd advanced the whole body and I was scanning, there was like a beam of light in my imagination going up and down, a bit like you might find on Star Trek, where they swishing and kind of fun. And as I was doing that, I felt myself or my soul kind of and firstly, the soul is, if you believe in that, is not confined to the body. This is just the end point of something. It's like the aglet at the end of a shoelace, but the soul was all over the place. But as I started to kind of progress a little bit higher, metaphorically and physically up, I started hearing like voices, right? And these voices from these beings or whatever were saying, he's not ready yet. And then that was it. And then I tried to get back to that state. I couldn't get back to it. Then 2 years later, I go on this ayahuasca journey, so drinking with plant medicine. And on day 1, I think it was, I'm having like 6 or 7 cups of tea. Most people are having like 2, right? But my mind is so, as you know, it's so attached to things, right? That I'm having 6 or 7 cups. And again, these voices came back, and they're not from my head. They're being transmitted into my head, but they're not from my head. And it was saying, again, he's not ready. So look, I haven't had the experience that Esther Hicks is talking about, but if you came to Mindvalley, you'll get people who are.
I have no doubt. That's why it came. That's why it came into the conversation. I expect at Mindvalley I could find anything I wanted to find in terms of.
You could find a lot, right? You'll find just the business people. You'll find the marketing SEO person. You'll find what else. But then I went to a talk the other day, and unfortunately, a lot of these people who are in this spiritual world are not very good at communicating their message. And I had no idea what she was talking about. I really didn't know what she was talking about. And I'd been around some of this weird stuff for a while. And I was like, I've walked out there. I have no idea I can't even explain it to you right now because I have no idea. But she was just babbling, and sometimes they're a little bit away with the fairies. But speaking of, one of your favorite books that you've quoted a few times, well, not necessarily favorite, is Letting Go, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure Hawkins, Power versus Force yet, which I did recommend you read. But David Hawkins, so his same author, right? Same author, David Hawkins. He talked about when he had his spiritual awakening, how he spent like months just sitting on park benches and found it really hard to interact with the world around him. Eckhart Tolle, I think, talks about the same in The Power of Now. And sometimes I was talking about this with someone the other day about the Bufu experience, because my Bufu experience, and for those not listening to the other thing, it's a toad poison that you inhale through effectively smoking what's called a crack pipe, really effectively. And it's got this compound in it called 5-MeO-DMT, which is 5 times stronger than DMT, which is a chemical compound that's in all of us, but in abundance in the human body when we are born and when we die. And it's often called the spirit molecule because it's believed that that's how the spirit enters and exits the body. Anyway, so I took this 5-MeO-DMT, and the first few trips, that I'd done both previously and in that segment, you know, I hold on quite tightly. It's only after the second, third one that I have to basically release and be prepared to die a death, effectively. And it's not a physical death, but that's the fear, because you feel like you're losing control and you are dissolving from your body. And there's literally a dissolving of the body, and then suddenly everything disappears. And this particular experience I had last year was 10,000 times stronger than the profound experience I had 2 years prior. I dissolved the body. I ascended into wherever, but then it was beyond that, because I went through different layers of dimensions through our current universe, but beyond this current universe into other realities, higher states of dimensions and beyond. And then eventually I ended up in this space where it was just a pure energy field, and the energy field was love. And when I came out of this experience, and also I was connected on the conscious level to every conscious being, past, present, and future, and I knew the answer to anything and everything. And the reason I say that, it's not because you can ask me a question, I can be a Google and answer it, because in that realm, in that dimension, there is nothing to know about anything. The only thing is to know is that this is an energy field of love. And love comes down through all these dimensions. I know I'm sounding crazy now, but love comes down through all these dimensions and ultimately materializes in this three-dimensional world, which is why people talk about love. But I realized then that love isn't a feeling and it's not an emotion, because there's no body, and the body is needed to create a feeling and an emotion. But love is literally the cosmic energy that is creating all reality. It's really, really crazy.
But I love that for you. Like, I think that's great. I think everything you've experienced is your experience and yours alone. And I'm not there to take it away or dispel it. But I would say that, like, it's like having a trip or a dream, right? It's your reality in that moment is as real as it can possibly be. But the brain is incredibly complex. It can create amazing images and pictures. And I used the word literally a couple of times in your description, but physically, or you didn't actually dissolve, Harry, and you didn't necessarily your mind would have thought or created a belief system or a vision or a chip or whatever you want to call it or cite it. There will be on the other side, there'll be a scientific explanation of the medical processes taking place in the brain that would have caused you to have that sensation. Now, whether it's opened up pathways and neurons and things that weren't firing before, and whether that's changed your perspective, I think that's fantastic. And if you come away with a better feeling of what love is, wonderful.
Well, it wasn't that. That's not the message.
I'd be pretty wary of using that as a basis for, necessarily changing a full belief system. For me,
my point, I hadn't got to the end really, because my point was going back to Eckhart Tolle and David Hawkins, is that sometimes when I come back and I'm here, I don't think about it too much, but I'm like, wow. I mean, it was like Neo taking the red pill and going.
Yeah, I get that. I can sense that by the way you talked about it.
But I'm also of a skeptic nature in some way, shape, or form. Like, I've been around this stuff for about 15 years. And then, like I was explaining with the Kundalini experience last year, I'm like looking at the people doing the demos, and I'm like, this is all, whatever, BS, showmanship. And then it happens to you, and you're like, okay, that's weird. And then, and you might argue, oh, the brain is switching off this pathway and doing this and doing that. But, I mean, I advise you to read a book called Proof of Heaven by a neurosurgeon called Evan Alexander. And he entered a coma, but his coma led to a severance of the thing that normally you could explain the hallucination by, and his journey through what he perceived as heaven. But I guess the point with all this is, like, at this event, there are people on two different scales. Like, you've got the super wacky people who've got their angels and demons carrying around on their shoulders, probably. Then you've got the marketing CEO or whatever who's earning millions of pounds. You've got all sorts of people. And
they're all having sex.
Well, maybe they are, but I'm not privy to it this time. But the point is, it's a bit like, you don't believe what you see, it's you see what you believe a lot of the time. And so some of this is coming from our inherent belief.
I think that's kind of where I was leaning towards, to be fair.
But this is the big but. There are so many different people with different backgrounds different experiences who report similar. I think everything's quite personal when you go into kind of plant realm, but who had similar experiences of like near death. So some years they do out of body experiences. I never receive any of those. Like I go to the sessions and I don't get anything. But there are people that are specialists in lucid dreaming or out of body experiences. People who have had near death experiences where, you know, everything's similar. So we're going back to the whole Esther Hicks thing. Like I can't speak to what you're listening to right now because I've not listened to that. I like her meditations because it's really just talking about, you know, this universal energy. Now, science might call it dark matter. That there's this energy, there's this field, the quantum field, whatever you want to call it, where things, I think, emanate from. And I mean, how to describe it now? Like, you know, these things are as real as you and I having a conversation now. I'm not physically in your space right now. I'm pixels on a screen to you and vice versa. People listening to us are not hearing us. They're hearing an echo of us right now as they listen to us in their podcast. So does that make it any less real that they're listening to me?
Well, now it's an echo of an echo.
Exactly. You were talking about the walls that time, right? The echoes on the wall.
Yeah. Listen,
right?
you know, I've got some weird and wonderful belief systems as well. Yeah, like the way that stones can hear the words. And
why that's so crazy? Because the way that you got sound onto a record player, records, is a similar way, right? Is etching into a solid substance, right? I thought we were talking about, there was a really interesting woman. She was talking about frequency medicine last week. That was a good talk where, you know, this was where I kind of lost it though at one point. So I'm back on your page, right? But I'll explain the essence. And one of my favorite quotes, and she quoted it as well, was Nikola Tesla, right? If you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And she's got a machine called a Rife machine, R-I-F-E. And it can kind of like send waves out to you and get waves back. And through that, it can basically tell, you know, what you've got going on with you and whether you've got parasites. And then they can direct frequencies to disable those parasites and whatever else. Now, frequency medicine on that scale, you might think, my God, but then we're quite happy with ultrasound. We're quite happy with gallstones being broken up, or kidney stones, or whatever it is, being broken up with sound waves. So I kind of bought into that. Where I get a bit of a challenge with her is mainly because she couldn't explain it to me. I wanted to have a go, but I said, do you operate in London? And she's from South Africa. And she goes, oh, yeah, but we can do it from a photo. I'm like, how can you do it from a photo, right? Because as you go, I'll just put this into the machine. And I'm like, that doesn't make it. And she couldn't explain it to me. Like someone being present, yes, I can get that, right? Hit a sound wave. This is how radar works, right? That's what it is, but it's just on a different frequency. But now I was like, well, what are you talking? And she goes, I don't know, the program there taps in. And so then sometimes people do healings, right? And they do these spiritual healings and they can do it over Zoom. I'm like, okay. And the only way that can work, in my view, and this is where I'm a bit of a paradox, because I feel challenged by that sort of statement, right? I'm going to hire some spiritual guru over Zoom, and then suddenly I'm going to lie down and they're going to heal me. But at the same time, everything and everyone is connected. And this is also what I learned in that Bupa trip, but I've known it for years through meditation, for other things. And so maybe if that's the case, then yes, you can do it. Because the way I like to think about it when I use metaphors to explain these to people is that we are all individuals. In the metaphor that I'm going to use, we are all leaves on a tree, thinking that the other leaf is not connected to us in some way. And we don't actually see that. And so in that respect, yes, you can probably transmit your healing across to the other tree. It's like mushrooms, right? Mushrooms, if a mushroom in a forest is suffering, the other mushrooms pull together and transmit energy and nutrients to that mushroom to give it life. It's really, this is stuff that's been studied and can be shown. And so we're all connected, but we all think we're separate, right? And so therefore, if I truly believe that, and I probably believe it, but maybe like 98% of the way there, which is why maybe I've got that 2% struggle with some of this stuff. But if that's truly the case, right, you're connected, and we've talked about this, I think, with COVID, with the breath.
I would imagine a lot of this, though, links to listen, I'm a believer. I'm a massive believer in energies, and I've got some beliefs which probably completely make me a paradox and will contradict others. But I think a lot of it as well, you've got to factor in the placebo effect as well. Like if I come onto Zoom with you and you're my healer and you're energy healer and you tell me you can do it and I'm really bought in and you tell me it's fine, I can tap into your Zoom energy or whatever. There's an element of placebo effect there. There's an element of me wanting it to be true, and therefore now I'm seeing a vision. Now I'm feeling better. So you've got to factor that in as well.
Element of relaxation, right? If I was a healer and I'm doing a Zoom session with people, I'm not getting them jumping around, right? I'm going like sit down, relax, close your eye, take a deep breath, and immediately, like ultimately, the body heals itself, right? The drugs that a pharmacist might give, the sound bowls that someone might do, it's your own body that does the healing. Your own body that creates almost a chemical reaction to that medicine to then create a healing process. It's a bit like, you take a vaccine.
There's also some smart wordplay. You've got NLP and other things that can play into some of this stuff as well that can be used.
I mean, this is why experience is so important, because I had some level of experience, but I've literally had conversations with people where they're talking about their meditations and how they had meditations where they elevated planes and had conversations with other people, right? And with all on planet Earth, but they're having their meditations. Now that I haven't experienced that, so I can't speak to that. And so it's really hard, because it's like trying to describe like the color orange to someone that never seen before.
Yeah, or I always say the taste of orange juice to someone that's never tried it. It's an impossible thing to explain.
It is, although I guess you could say, look, okay, if you've had apple juice before, it's like this, or if you've had water, it's something wet. So we try and use words to describe something that has no words, right? And I'm often like, I like to delve into UFO stuff as well, but a lot of UFO encounters or alien encounters that people report say that they have a conversation or they're being spoken to by these alien beings, but without any verbal stuff going on. It's all telepathically. So, I think it's really hard to describe in words things that
But humans are also wonderful storytellers. I mean, look, we could bring religion into this as a context. We're wonderful storytellers. And for many people, what they see in whatever religion they follow, they can absolutely believe it's complete. Everything they've seen is completely true. I'm not here to say it's not, by the way. I'm not here to share my religious beliefs or views or values in this moment. But the point is, it's absolutely true for them in that moment. But there'll be someone else who fully believes in a UFO experience who will absolutely say God does not exist in any form because I've seen this, and will completely try, because that's the truth for their experience. There'll be someone in the middle who goes, I think both of you are talking horseshit and I don't believe in any of it. And
I think it maybe you end up, I think what it is, and I was thinking about this a few weeks back, let's say heaven and hell, if there is such a thing, right? Which I personally don't subscribe to, but I do believe that whatever is next, because I don't necessarily believe this is it based on various experiences, conversations, whatever else. But I think it's different for everyone, right? I think it's like a bit like now, right? If you see the world as a cruel, harsh, dark place, that's how you experience the world. If you see the place as full of opportunities and life and kindness and giving, that's how you see the world. And I
100%.
I think it's no different in anything beyond this three-dimensional reality, if there is something, that some people will go and experience what they perceive as, endless, whatever.
But that's why self-agency is so important, right? So then the comparison being the thief of joy, you need to have self-agency. You need to be able to have that self-leadership to understand who you are first before you try and interpret what the world is. I think otherwise it's dangerous doing the other way around. Have an understanding of which direction you want to take. And if you see the world negatively, negativity is going to find you. Going back to Esther Hicks's laws of attraction, there's an element of truth in that element. The way you look at the world is where it comes back. It's the quote that your day does not dictate your mood dictates your day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how you start it, how you think about it, what you see is, or what you think is what you feel. Every feeling lives in the shadow of a thought. So I think there's a lot to that.
I would say as well, like, I know you mentioned the secret at the beginning of the call. I have read the book, but I enjoyed the video version more, which I think I watched 15 years ago. And yes, they miss out the action part, but a lot of the extended interviews, and I've met some of the people. In fact, one of the people from The Secret, I think, was speaking here, a lady called Marie Diamond, who was the feng shui person in the Secret.
I really struggle with the book, mate. I'll be honest. It just sounded like a big commercial piece of.
No, the book isn't that good.
I found it very misguiding and not necessarily helpful for those that read it.
Right? People want to get everything to do nothing, but the reality is you have to act. And actually, there was a woman here. She's some sort of bestseller. She had a quite interesting story, like ex-drug addict, only until like 2017 or 2018, and then she's written this book, which has become this huge bestseller called Manifest, right? So now the word is manifest, instead of law of attraction, whatever, but manifest. But she went through her 7 steps. But a lot of those 7 steps it was basically goal setting, right? Because it was like, know what you want, right? Put yourself in this, right? And believe it, right? And it's basically goal setting, but they decided to call it manifesting now. And the secret is somewhat similar, right? It's about seeing what you want. You need to see it before you can do it, right? I could not see an iPad in my imagination. That's why Steve Jobs invented it and not me, right? He saw it in his head first. And so that's part of it. But I think the secret is about what you put your attention to is more likely to come to pass, because that's just what we are like as humans. So I do kind of recommend it to people, but again, you do have to take the action, and you have to have the setback.
I mean, obviously, if you think about something enough and you really want something, sometimes it's the subtle micro actions that you take that you don't realize you're taking that suddenly achieves the goal. I'm not saying if you don't, using manifest, if you really want something, absolutely, it should be on your what do you call it, thingy wall and
vision board.
Picture board, whatever. That's good. It's going to help you for sure, because it keeps you focused, helps you make better decisions. For sure. But you've got to take the actions.
If you're designing a house, you have the architectural drawings. If you're an interior designer, you have a mood board. You have all the things.
And people read that book, The Secret, sat on their armchairs, and then complain when they didn't end up billionaires. And it's like, well,
and that's the thing. So what they did with the movie is they edited out a lot of the bits of the interviews that these leaders were talking, or these gurus were talking about the work aspect. They kind of edited those bits out, which is
I didn't know there was a movie. So movie.
Yeah, but the interviews are pretty much the same, saying, I thought about it and then it happened. But they condensed a 4-hour interview down to like 4 minutes, and they cut out all the work, the sacrifice.
Well, I'm conscious of your time. You've got a party to get to, so I'm going to manifest for you, mate, and hope that you find the woman of your dreams tonight at one of your sex parties, that you have the 20 seconds of courage to go and make the move, and that you have another sleepless night this evening in your sexy clobber that you're wearing in your shades, and you have another night with no sleep. No, that'll hit your aura. Your aura ring will be 2 days without sleep. You'll have a high HRV. All your levels will be down, but you'll have a lovely lady by your side, and you'll have had a good night.
A tame one. It's just a gentle party. But anyone listening, they're getting the wrong impression with me right now.
Yeah, they are, to be fair. That's my fault.
Yeah, that's and that says more about you than me, because it's what's on your mind.
Well, listen, I don't deny anything here. No, I'm only kidding, buddy. Harry is a very, very much an eligible bachelor for people who they would be very lucky to meet up with this guy. He's got a new book coming out, which we're really excited about. Podcast host, loads of things going for him. Good looking lad. Biohacking his life, so he'll have a partner for at least another 100 years. So. It
may not be a selling point for some.
Maybe I should write your dating app if you want one. Probably not.
That's true. All right. Well, okay. I need to go because I'm already an hour behind.
Go and enjoy yourself. Really good to see you, buddy. And let's have a great night. Enjoy the rest of the final week of the conference.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. And everyone, listen. If you can share this episode with people, especially it's been a bit of a crazy episode, it might open a few minds or bring a few listeners our way.
We've jumped about a bit, haven't we? We've jumped about a bit
like we normally do. But I love it. I hopefully you come to Mindvalley one year and you can interview some really interesting people as well and get to know a few people. It'd be really, really good.
Yeah, let's make it happen. All right, buddy. Enjoy.
Take care. Bye.